Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk.
Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you with us today.
Yes, we are happy. Happy Monday or happy whatever day it is that you listen to our podcast.
I know. Isn't that funny? Because we always talk about that, like just that kickoff. So
Yes.
here we are. We're glad you could be with us because I love our show topic for today.
Yes. 3 ways to lead
Mess.
well when the organization around you is a hot mess. I mean, how many times, Jill, do we have people coming up to us and they're like, I'm in this fire. I'm in this, everything around me is a hot mess, but I'm trying to protect culture in this space, or I want to still grow culture here. But a lot of times people just feel really just defeated in that process.
Yeah, and not even just culture. Like I literally just got off the phone with my former coworker who was like on the way to the plant, who was like, you'll never believe what happened. And I was like, yeah, let's all play the cards of like, can we top that one? But the hot mess is sometimes just in the situations that we like lean in, that we hear about, that we're led to, that are show up on our plate every day. And this show is about talking through that, because yes, there's all those things that you hear, and those are good. Those are good recommendations.
Yes.
But we also want to give you some things that you can actually do. Like, what can you do? And challenge you to do something to be able to think about your hot mess differently.
Yes, because you do have agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do have agency in this. You are a person in the organization. You do have a circle of influence, a circle of control. You can do something. You don't have to sit around and wait.
Right. So yeah, so if it's your first time joining us, welcome to Real Talk by Catalyst Food Leaders.
Yes.
We like to have honest conversations to lead people forward in the food industry.
We do. We talk to food leaders every week, right? And we keep hearing about like what's underneath the hot mess that we see, that we feel, right, in our roles. And this is our time to really talk about that with you. So add to the comments your perspective, because once we kind of get it out, I really have this belief of once we kind of introduce it out and we start having these conversations, right, we can actually start putting solutions together. And like you said, this show is all about like, what do you do? What can you do? Where can you start?
And we've had these conversations before, but we always like to sprinkle in something a little bit new. But also, the reality is we have to hear it over and over so that we are ready for the next step.
Yes.
Because one of the things that we keep seeing, right, is that people are just tired.
Yes.
Like exhausted, tired, and not just the type where like I need to go to bed and wake up tomorrow and I'm ready to like get on with it. But it's the tired, like the mental tiredness, the emotional tired, like all of it is exhausting because I mean, we've been there and we see people there all the time where you're like, I love what I do. I love the people I'm working with. There are even things about the organization I love, but I feel like everything is working against where we're trying to go when it comes to building systems and culture around food industry and working in this space.
And that's one of the top reasons on how we move to burnout, right? Why people are feeling burnt out. And a lot of times people feel like, oh, because I'm so overworked, I get burnout. That's a part of it. But sort of what you're talking about, this mental load of being exhausted and tired and, really feeling like things aren't going to shift. That mental load also leads to burnout, and is a huge piece of why we're seeing so many people burning out. Right?
Yeah, and a lot of that is because we feel like it's outside our control.
Yes.
Right. We feel like all the things are happening to us, and that it is hard to be in that moment of where like, wow, this is happening for me. It's happening for me to learn something. Like, I want to just scream when there's moments like that. So I understand if you're listening and you're like, yeah, no, I'm not excited and cheering that I get this challenge in front of me, like too much. But I also want to, put out there that, like as we go through this, we're not going to tell you like, hey, you need to quit, or, not going to tell you just push through it. But we want to give you some actual tips on things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the other part is the leaders who are often feeling this the most are the ones who are the best,
Yeah.
because they care the most. They want to drive things forward the most. It doesn't mean that other people don't care, but they may have already been able to create some distance between the things that are happening here at work and like how it's impacting me.
Yes. Yes.
And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean it's a great thing, but what it means is the people who are in the space right now of feeling the overwhelm, burnout, exhaustion,
Mm-hmm.
like they're the ones still running on the treadmill.
Yes, yes. They're the ones that's trying to do something different in this space versus saying, well, that's just the way the organization is. So I'm going to live here in this space and be content with it. Right. They're the people on the other side that's saying, well, I want to change things. I want things to be different. I want to move in a different direction. And like you said, they're on that will. They're pushing
Yes.
through, and that's leading to people being tired and exhausted and burnt out.
Yes. And that's why I found this funny little meme. I'm going to add it. If you are listening on our podcast, we'll describe it. There's this dude with a coffee cup and kind of this, I'm going to say like, what kind of grin is that?
Yeah, like a smirk, sort of like a smirk.
Yeah, a smirk. And the text on here has a coworker that's saying, hey, this is the first time I've seen you smile at work. What's up? And the meme is this dude with his smirky smile and this coffee cup. And the text under it says, I'm about to quit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This is funny, and it resonated with me because many times, right, when people are in this like, what are things, how are things happening here? Like I'm in this hot mess. This whole piece of like, well, I'm looking for a new job, I'm out the door, bye, right? Like that's when you start seeing those smiles, those smirks, because people have figured out, right? I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to take my time somewhere else.
Or we keep hearing about quiet quitting. It's the people who have decided, like, I'm going to detach from what's happening here at work because I just cannot deal with it anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Which,
So
that's a whole nother show in that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But that's real, right? It's real of like, I'm going to disengage, either removing myself from the organization, or I'm going to disengage here. And we know, like what Gallup says, like 70% of people are disengaged, whether it's, actively being disengaged or I think they call it like partially disengaged, where it's like 70% of people are there. So 70% of people have this smirk on their face where they're like, yeah, I'm smiling here because I have already quit or I'm going to quit.
Yeah. And, this is something we see everywhere. It's, this drive for companies. I'm going to say it's obviously profit driven, right? Okay. The whole, like, we're going to lean out our teams. We're going to lean things out. They're only worried for whatever reason about cost of poor quality versus cost of good quality. Yeah. And then that just rolls down. So somebody leaves, somebody's asked to cover more, absorb more, deliver more, not give them better support, not give them better systems. And everybody just gets job loaded.
Yeah. And we're living in this time in history where things are kind of coming to a head, right? Like at what point, we're helping a client right now understand that, how many people should they have on their team? And because of all the years of kind of dwindling down this team, they're really in this critical spot of, wow, we have got to get talent in here. We've got to get people in here to kind of help. But really, they had to get to this crisis mode before that happens. And we see it across the industry, and not just food safety teams, right? Like we see it across many different teams we're at this crisis mode of manufacturing, where we have kind of dwindled down the amount of people that we have on our team, on top of people quiet quitting, on top of people disengaging. And we see that. We see organizations sort of being at this critical moment that they're going to have to make different decisions.
Yeah. And I think so often it's just left for people like, well, go figure it out. Like, figure out what's the priority. Figure out what you can't drop right now. Figure out what aligns with the new company initiative. Like, figure it out. And actually, right this morning, we were just talking about a client who is like layering on a new corporate initiative. And we're like, how do you do that when literally the things around you, like figuratively, obviously, are on fire?
Right.
When you're like, we still are struggling to get CCP checks done on time or understand that they're important or understand basic sanitation. So how do you just figure it out when you've got the flaming bag of poo, my husband would say, and then you've got the new shiny thing over here?
Right. Right. Exactly. What do you do in that situation? Right? When everything feels like a hot mess.
Yes, but no worries. We've got 3 movements that you can make, or at least think about and maybe pick one that you want to start with and try.
Yes.
We know it's not a draw a line in the sand and going forward, everything's different. But what we really recommend is, how do you pick one thing and be like, I can do one thing, trial it for 1 week, trial it for 1 month.
Yes.
That's what helps make a difference. It's, you have to pick something to put into practice. But we have 3 of them to share with you today.
Yes. And the first one, we like to say, start with yourself, right? Like you have to start with yourself, your mindset, where you are in your energy. And so the first step is really understanding how to protect your energy. Like it's a production schedule, right? Like we know in food, that production schedule is so protected around, right? Like this is what we have to run. These are the cases we have to fill. This is what happens if we go on allocation. Like we've had all these conversations, right? Where our production schedule is protected and the things we do around it to protect it. You have to do the same thing for your own energy. You have to make sure that you have your maintenance plan in place. You know, we talk about this all the time in our leadership courses and boot camp, and then strategic, on how are you recharging? How are you stepping away? How are you doing self-care? And not just even self-care in the sense of like spa, you know, or in the sense of like even, you know, what I'm thinking about, like even with like my like sleep mask on, you know, like resting, self-care, which that is important, and that is 100% important. But even from an operational discipline, when it comes to yourself, like what are those non-negotiables around, you know, when you do your email, when you step aside, or when you even do your one-on-ones, or when you connect with your people. You know, one of the things we talk about all the time with leaders is that they don't spend enough time connecting with others because they're going down the checklist of to do. A part of that self-care as leaders is that you actually have time scheduled, that you are connecting with other people, that you're building the right type of relationships. Without that maintenance, we see it with leaders. They don't have the type of influence that they need, right? They don't have allies or advocates for them or champions of their message because they haven't actually spent that time that they need to build those relationships, to really have the energy that they need in other places because they really haven't protected them.
Yeah, and you know, you've thrown kind of you know, a few ideas out there for people to consider, and you know, sometimes, you know, whether it's when it's your email or like you said, connecting with people, all good things too, but sometimes it's even like, what time are you leaving work?
Oh yeah, yes.
I mean, I think there's that element of, I plan to leave at 4 and I find I don't get out of there till 6:30. And then I feel like I'm drained.
Yes.
Is there a way to be like, I want to leave by 5? And maybe it's not every day, but maybe it's Wednesdays by 5. I'm making it up. Or maybe it's 10:30 at night, depending on your schedule.
Yes.
But sometimes the protecting your energy is just like, I'm not going to check my emails till I get to work. How many people, I see people all the time who, like, they wake up, they go to the bathroom, they come out and they're scrolling through their emails to see what kind of day they have in front of them already.
Right.
And that's setting the stage for your energy and your mindset from the get-go. When you haven't even been able to precede it.
Right.
And I mean, precede, like SEED, with things like, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
I'm going to make something happen today. Like, I'm going to keep going today. Like, you haven't even had your own self-talk yet.
Right, exactly.
So part of protecting your energy can be even things like that, which I know sounds cheesy, but when I was in, for me, that pivotal moment of shifting from the sky feels like it's falling and everything feels so heavy was when I had started to really learn more about, like, I know it's crazy, the affirmations. People
Mm,
think that's crazy,
mm.
but affirmations work.
They do.
Your mind believes everything you say.
Yes. Yes.
So when you stand in the mirror and go like, I'm worthy and I'm going to make it a great day, and you do that every day,
Mhm.
it actually starts to, like, your brain remembers.
Yes. Yes. Isn't that amazing? Right. And the reason why we say starting with yourself and protecting your energy is because that is like, imagine whatever it is that you're thinking about right now, you said to yourself every single day and you start to believe it. What kind of shift would that make in your life? Whatever it is that you're thinking about in your mind, and maybe it's an
Mm-hmm.
affirmation you already say, if you can get your mind to shift around that, what other things can you do
Mm-hmm.
and accomplish? Right. And this has nothing to do with anyone else, right? You don't need anyone else to do this. This is just
No.
on you, right? You don't have to wait for anyone else. You can do this. You can start this today. You can start this right after you listen to Real Talk. And
Yeah.
you can start making that shift.
I think the myth is that the people who make it to the top and grind the hardest are, the ones that are, just work, 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 work driven. And
Mhm.
there are many of those people who have not figured out how to do boundaries. I'm never going to recommend that that be you unless that fills your cup. But if
Right.
you're someone who's like, I actually need to protect my energy a little bit,
Hmm.
like, figure out what that means to you and do that.
Yes.
We've
Yes.
given you a couple ideas here on things to do. And
Hmm.
I think, like you said, even whether it's boot camp or strategic leader, we talk about these on a regular basis
Yeah.
so that people are constantly coming back to, how do I put me first?
And it is possible. I remember I did it in 2020, just from work from home. It feels like you could work forever and ever and ever and ever. I set a time of like, I'm going to be done at this time, and if I feel like I need to check something after that time, it needs to be one thing that I need to
Mm-hmm.
finish that I feel like that's critical, and it just reshaped my life and what I was doing. And when you think about like just being burnt out, like I was definitely burnt out in 2020 for many reasons, but just being able to protect this energy allowed me to focus on other things, right? Allowed me to take this sort of weight off my shoulder, which really I was honestly putting on myself. Like no one says, oh, you have to work to 8 p.m. or you have to work. Wait, no one's telling us this, but we feel like that we just feel
Have
like we
to.
have things to do, or we have to, or, other leaders are doing it, or whatever it happens to be. So, it is possible. It is
Yeah.
possible to do. And I know I felt a lot better once I was able to set that boundary just on what time am I going to finish work.
Yeah. So the practical tip in this part is, maybe it's the Sunday night thing when you start thinking about, oh gosh, what's Monday going to be like? Instead of getting all anxious about it, I mean, you can still do that if you want to, but think about, what is the one thing I need to protect this week so
Mm,
that the week can be more manageable for me? Just one
mm.
thing,
One
not the
thing.
whole list, just one. And
And
put
start
that
there.
thing, maybe you need to put it on your calendar so you remember, like, that's the one thing I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that is, pick
Mhm,
one thing.
mhm. So that's the
Yes.
first movement.
Yep. Yeah, the second one is one that I like because it's a question that comes up all the time. But how do you get clear on what you own?
Mhm.
Too often we see that. I've done it. I see clients doing it all the time where they're like, well, I'm working on this and I'm working on that and I'm working on that. And I'm like, and why? Like, why are you worried about setting up PMs? Why are you following up with the sanitation team when there's a sanitation manager?
Right.
Why are you worried about FIFO when you have inventory control specialists?
Mhm, mhm.
Being worried and taking action are, two different things. I can sit
Right.
here and worry about my inventory control, but how am I making sure that the people who are managing it every day understand their role and that they're being held accountable?
Yes. Yes.
But too often I see people, we take things on ourselves. And I've done that where I'm like, oh, I have to do that report. Oh, I have to be part of that meeting. Oh, I need to do that.
Right.
And
Yes.
I don't own any of those.
Right. Right.
I'm just being a meddler.
A meddler, right? Or, maybe you feel like I'm the best person for it. And so I'm going to, or I have this knowledge, or I've done this before, or I've seen this in my past, or like whatever reason we kind of give ourselves to say that we need to be involved. When in reality, you don't need to be involved, right? Your team needs to be involved. People around you might need to be involved. But what do you own? And you're absolutely right. It's one of the things that I think prevents people from having the culture and seeing the culture that they want to see, is that it's really not clear on who owns what.
Yeah, and I think in organizations that have poor culture, or like the firefighting culture, like it even gets blurred more because you're supposed to just jump in.
Yes.
And people feel like, I can't say that's not my job, when really you should say, I don't own that.
Right. Right. It also kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier on having like lean teams and people leaving the organization and never getting backfilled and things just kind of piling on our plate. I think once you get really clear on what you own, you can then start to make a decision on what am I going to prioritize? Because we know that we have so much going on, right? This is kind of adding to the weight that we feel, the burnout that we feel, the hot mess that's around us. But when you are clear on what I own and then can prioritize that piece, that's when you can start communicating to the organization of, this is what's happening, this is what's not happening or not getting done, and this is where the risks lie. It doesn't mean that risk belongs to you, right? Like you might not be the decision maker of it. You're not the person who's hiring people, whatever it happens to be. You might not own that risk, but you can communicate that risk because you clearly understand what it is that you're doing and you're responsible for, and all the other stuff is not getting done because you've already set your boundary around your energy, right? You know what time you're leaving work. You know the times that you're prioritizing. You know what's important to you there and what needs to get done. Now you can communicate to the organization of, this is the risk that we've had. And I've done exactly that, getting super clear on what do I own, and then letting the organization know that this is what I own. This is what I'm prioritizing. These are all the other things that are not happening. Are we aligned here? Right?
Yeah. I think, we often talk on this show, or we have before, about a tool that I love called Start, Stop, Continue.
Oh, yes.
And that can even apply to the things that you all have. So if you look at your to-do list and be like, which ones of these are mine?
Yes.
So that can be part of the Start, Stop, Continue. And maybe not start, because maybe that's on the list of things I'm hoping to do. But what on your list right now is like, yes, I own this, but this one is not mine. I need to stop doing this one I need to continue doing.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you don't care about the other things, but we're trying to differentiate between what you actually own and need to move forward versus what you can care about. There's a big difference, like you just talked about, Tia. You can still communicate the risk, you can communicate what's happening, but you can also communicate like, that's not mine to own because I own these things to help us move forward. So the person who owns these, if they can do that part, then we can meet up together.
Exactly. Yes, that's such a great tool. And for people that don't know the tool, Google it. There's templates out there around stop, start, continue. What are the things you want to stop? What are the things you want to continue? And what are the things, right, that you might want to start? But this is your action step, right? On how do you really start to get clear on the things that you own? Start to write them down and identify, is this truly mine to own?
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing the work, but is this yours to even facilitate? How many times do we get brought in to facilitate or to take notes or to be a part of follow-up? And it's like, this really has nothing to do with you and where you should be prioritizing your time. Should you be the person that's doing that?
Yeah, my personal tip is when you go into a meeting, be the person who walks out with no action items. I know that sounds ridiculous where you're like, but we all have action items. Not all the time. Like, what things do you get assigned to you just because somebody thinks you own it. What things do you volunteer for because you see others aren't picking up to be able to move it forward?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Make that your goal. Don't make it the norm that you just get a whole pile of action
Right.
items,
Right.
because you
Yeah.
got to do all the work on those.
Yes. And if you're still thinking like, is this really important for me to do, to get really clear on it, on what I own? Another reason why this is important, and one thing that we hear all the time from people, is how do I hold my team accountable? Accountability is like this area that's
Buzzword.
missing when it comes to leadership. Yes, it's one of those things that, like, if there's been a few, like, even stats to come out recently around leaders not feeling like that they're holding people accountable, or that's hard for them to hold people accountable, and even holding themselves accountable. A huge piece of that is that no one knows what people own. It's hard to hold someone accountable if it is not clear that this person owns it and how they own it, right? Like we were talking the other day about different parts of a food safety program, right? Food safety does not own all parts of a policy, but which parts do you own? Which part does operations own? Does maintenance own? Are people clear about that so that you can hold them accountable? It's like we don't do the work to really actually understand what do each of us own in this process, in this way of working. And that leads to other issues.
Yeah, and when that's unclear, right, it just floods down to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part is, this goes back to kind of the first movement that we talked about, where when there's so much to do, as a leader, it's hard for you to you don't even have a system to hold people accountable, because you have so many things happening. What are you going to, how do you go like, oh, I wish you would have worked on item number 100 versus 133. That's not even realistic. So you think you're going to hold somebody accountable for doing X versus Y, but their plate is so big, like, that's on you as a leader.
Right. Exactly.
And that is hard to hear. I have been there. Like, we have clients that are in this role where, like, well, how do you do this and figure it out? And you're like, well, you got to, like, eat the elephant one bite at a time and start at one place. But the goal is making manageable workloads with clear expectations so that you can support people in doing their role really well. And then it also gives you this foundation that if they're not able to do it, if they're unwilling to do it, then you do have a leg to stand on when it comes to accountability.
Right. Exactly. And I laugh because you're talking about, like, doing, item 100 and something versus something. I mean, in reality, some people have really long priority lists. You look at, and this is not just like, even at the plant level, but even at the organization level, where they will have 30 priorities, like, for one function. And it's like, you don't have the people to do 30 priorities, number one. No. And how are you going to prioritize them? Like, where, like you said, are you going to work on number 30? Are you going to work on number 1? Are you working down the list? Like, and we know we don't work down the list, right? Like, if an organization is putting up 30 priorities, they want all 30 of them done. But when you get really clear around what you own, it challenges people around you to say, should this be on the list? Should this be on the list? Do we have the people to do it? Do we have the time, the resources to actually do this work? How is it going to get done? I feel like people don't ask that question enough. Like, okay, we want to do this. How might we do this? What is the strategy behind doing this?
Yes. So we talked about two things you can do. One is, protect your energy, like production schedule. The second one is get clear on what you actually own, even if it's one thing that you can be like, I don't own that. But the next part is find your people and stay close to them.
Yes.
There's nothing worse than being in the fire and feeling like you have nobody around you who understands you, supports you, is going to be there to bring you up when you need that.
This is where those micro cultures sort of thrive, right? And really hold on to people who are who are great for the organization, and where you find that even in an organization that is a hot mess, that they have these thriving teams around, is because the leaders have found their people, right? They stay close to them and they help define what the culture of their team look like. We talk about this often at Catalyst because we truly believe that you, everyone that's listening, that you are a catalyst for change, and you can change your area, where your team, how you show up there. And people benefit from this. People benefit from this, and not just people, but the organization benefits from people really focusing on defining their culture and their people around them, and working with that, even if the organization has noise.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we know that they have noise, and you're probably not able to fix that.
No.
Right. Those are things outside of your control, even though you're going to want to be able to fix them. So this is part of that. Like, what are the things within your control?
Mm-hmm.
And you can manage those relationships around you so that you can like approach things to support each other.
Yes.
And I talked earlier about some of those leaders who are in hard organizations, and you think, gosh, how can they be there? But that's often because they have built some type of support system around them so that they don't go crazy.
Right. Right.
Really, that's part of it.
Yes. So true. I mean, just thinking about like working in a toxic environment, my like safe area was actually my facility, because we had built that culture around it. And I remember, maybe it was last year or the year before at IFP, someone asked around like, well, if I have a really great culture within this toxic culture, like how sustainable is that? And we kind of had some conversation around it. And the truth is that unless the organization kind of picks up from what micro cultures are doing to be more productive, have stronger relationships, get more work done, if they don't want to take that on, then they will continue to be the hot mess organization that they are. And as leaders leave that part of the business, or people shift from that team, you will see that team shift as well, right? Because it's this micro culture.
Yeah.
But you do have that agency. You do have the ability to shift how your current culture where you are is. And when we think about that smirk on the meme that you shared, right? You could feel that way without quitting or without disengaging on your team, where you do have smiles, you do have laugh, you are like, I think about those teams like where we're in like lockstep with each other. Even if the rest of the organization is not, it's a different type of energy in those spaces, even if you're in a hot mess situation.
Yeah, and those are the teams that people want to be on.
Yes.
Right. They notice, and you talked about this a lot, Tia, that you had a team, right, where people are like, why are you all laughing? And like, they see that. They see when you are strong, and they feel that you do something a bit different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's something completely within your control to think about. How can you create this, I'm going to say almost bubble, this bubble around you on what this support looks like. That's really important. And that's something that every food leader can do. And while we can all hope that our bubble expands, or others want to come in the bubble, or the organization sees the bubble and wants to do it, it's also part of this understanding that it may not, and we're okay with that because we have this bubble.
Right. Exactly. And when we think about like how you can lead well, this is a space that is defined by you as a leader.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. That someone can have the sanctuary in this hot mess. That, like you said, people want to be a part of that team or want to be close to that team because of the culture there. And there's some learnings there from a leader that leads in this space, right? Like you learn about, you learn about yourself as a leader. You learn about what motivates people in an environment that's not the greatest, which we all could use those leadership skills right now, just because of where we are, where the industry is. Those skills are valuable skills that will continue to serve you as you grow in your career. Where we find sometimes leaders kind of take a step back and say, well, I'm in a hot mess organization. Like, I don't need to focus on my leadership. I don't need to focus on these skills. We say, yes, you do. This is actually the time to invest in your own leadership skills so that you can lead well in an organization, so that you can lead well for your team, even if you are surrounded by this hot mess. And like you said, we hope that people kind of come into the bubble, or your bubble spreads. And many times it does, right? But really your goal is how do you help protect your people?
Well, and even if you are not direct, like if you don't have direct reports, like, right, we always have to put this out there that you still are self-leading.
Yes.
You're leading yourself. And so your bubble can start with you and learning how to do these things differently. Because we get that. I mean, we get that you could be in a hard organization right now, but you're still showing up, you're caring, you're trying to lead well, right? That takes more strength than most people ever give others credit for.
Yes. Yes.
But it also means that the work that you're doing is a lot. To be able to stay grounded in those moments and intentional when the chaos is just going around you, like that's actually a skill. And I don't know about you, but it's one that I try to bring to my teams, but I also admire when I see someone who could still stay composed when the fire is raging all around them, but still understands when to be able to connect, to be relatable and resonate with others.
Yes.
But that compounds in your team. Like there's a reason we have these like service animals, because they help calm us. Be the service animal for your team, like servant leadership.
Yes.
Watch how when you do that, what that does to impact others.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And I love the note around the end of, an individual contributor or someone that doesn't manage someone directly. I mean, just thinking about when I was the only person, I don't have anyone to manage, right? Like I'm still on teams, right? And just being that, I remember my customer service team, they loved meeting with me. I met with them all the time because they felt burnt out everywhere else. They felt like that they were fighting against the organization on many of the things. So they like welcomed me in. We had conversation. I mean, we had many, many, many different conversations because I was their safe space, right? Like I like even as you talk about the service animal, I was their safe space for them to kind of talk about these things and help give them ideas on how to push and how to accept some of the things that they cannot change, that's not in their power to change. Some of those things, people still gravitate right to people who are like that, people who are looking to define the culture that they're in. And so you have that agency, even if you are a one-person team, even if you, right, like you are still a part of the organization, you are still a part of a team, a broader team. Still look at how do I help define the culture here? How do I be a leader in this space for this team? Like choose a team, right? You don't have to choose like all the project teams that you work on or all the groups. Choose a team that you want to start building these leadership skills with and start practicing these leadership skills with and defining the culture there. And notice how things shift. Even notice how other teams shift because of how you're having conversations with your with the team you chose.
Yes. So if today's episode resonates with you, here's where to go next. So Tia, you're just talking about individual leaders, the self leaders who, maybe you're looking for, a structured environment to do more of this work on how you show up. Well, guess what? We have a cohort of food leaders who get exactly what you are navigating as well. Leadership Boot Camp starts on September 15th. And this is a program built for exactly what we talked about today. And you may be thinking, gosh, that's a couple months out. It is. And that's why when you're thinking about it right now, it's the perfect time to get the details. And if the program's for you, sign up. We invite you to check it out and see if that's the fit, because save your seat and let your mind know that you're taking action to do something different. So we'll connect. In the show notes, there'll be a link so that you can get to the module details so you can download those and see what 14 weeks would be like.
And really be strategic on how that's going to help you protect your energy. One of the things I would say, one of the most consistent feedbacks that we get from Leadership Bootcamp is the time that we have to reflect and practice on leadership skills. Afterwards, people are like, I am still going to block this time to continue to practice and reflect, because before they weren't doing that, right? We gave them this avenue to do that, and then they're running with it. They're taking it on. So, I mean, this is, to me, it connects to that first movement of protecting your energy around how do you want to show up, right? As a leader, what skills do you need to move forward or even create this culture within your hot mess organization?
Yes.
We hear time after time, Leadership Bootcamp creates that for our cohorters, for our boot campers.
Yes. And if you're a manager and you're thinking after hearing this, like, I need to build this bubble around my team, and you need a development partner to do that, that's what our strategic leader program is all about. It starts the same week. I believe it's the same day on September 15th. But you can get all the details. Once again, we'll link that to the show notes.
Yes.
So that you can really put some thought to it. We invite you to be part of this and build something that's real, so that even in the chaos, you have this grounding and this place that your team comes, I'm going to say, home to. Yeah. And so, if today made you think about someone on your team who maybe needs this, forward the episode to them. We love that you share it.
Yes, yes.
But sometimes the most powerful thing a leader can do is say, I heard this and I thought of you.
Yes.
That is the whole, I see you, I hear you, you matter. Be that leader.
Yes, yes. And we know that culture doesn't change until leaders do. So what steps, what movements are you making to shift how you show up so that your culture shifts?
Yes. Well, that's this week's Real Talk. Thanks for joining us. And be sure in the comment or send us an email. What movement are you making?
Oh, yes. We want to hear about it.
Yep. Well, have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.